Story of the World, Volume 2, Chapter 41, Explorations in the North, Part 1, The Newfoundland. After Columbus and Amerigo Vespucci sailed across the Atlantic, other Europeans followed. The Spanish and Portuguese planted their colonies in Central and South America. The English did their best to settle in Virginia. And further up north in North America, another colony began to form on the island of Newfoundland. This colony wasn't Spanish, Portuguese, or English. It was filled with settlers from all different nations. It had many different names in many different languages, but like the English Newfoundland, these names all mean new land. Today, Newfoundland is part of the country of Canada. The colony on Newfoundland, which was often known by its French name, Terre-Neuve, got its start when a merchant named John Cabot sailed north from England and bumped into the North American coast. John Cabot was a little bit like the people who would follow him to Newfoundland. He was from several different countries. He was born in Italy, tried living in Spain, and then came to England. Here, he convinced the English to help him pay for a journey of exploration. Like Columbus, John Cabot wanted to find a quick way to get to India. He thought that if he sailed north, he might find the fastest possible route to the east. In the year 1497, 5 years after Columbus landed in America, John Cabot began his own journey in the North Atlantic. He had only 20 men and a single small ship, the Matthew. But his journey was even shorter than he had expected. Before too many weeks had passed, Cabot sighted land ahead of him. An island, rocky and fog-shrouded, rose out of the ocean. Cabot sailed around the island's shores and found that beyond it lay a huge forested mass of land. He could glimpse grassy meadows beyond the beaches. Silver streams trickled through the meadows down to the sea. As Cabot's ship cruised along the new coast, his men leaned over the ship's rail, their mouths open with astonishment. The water was filled with large fish leaping around the ship's bow. "Quick," one said, "lower a basket down." They tied a rope to a nearby wicker basket and dragged it through the water beside the ship. When they pulled it up, it was full of codfish, perfect for eating. This was the easiest fishing they'd ever done. John Cabot beached his ship, climbed ashore, and announced, "I claim this land for England." Then he sailed back to England and reported, "I have found the shortest route to the northeast coast of Asia. There are so many fish in the water that England's fishermen could feed the whole country. Now I want to return with more ships and look for the spices of the East." Of course, John Cabot hadn't reached Asia. He had landed on the northern part of North America. But, like Columbus, he was sure that he had accomplished his goal. The following spring, he left England with 5 ships, ready to finish his journey to the east. Months later, one of the ships limped back to England, tattered by storms. It had never reached North America. Winds had driven it off course, and its captain had decided to give up the journey. John Cabot and the other 4 ships had disappeared entirely. No one ever saw or heard from them again. Probably the ship sank in the North Atlantic. But even though Cabot never made it back to his new land, English fishermen had heard stories about the swarms of fish in Cabot's Newfoundland. They set out with their own boats to follow John Cabot's route. When these fishermen came back with the holds of their ships stuffed full of fish, word spread quickly. Other fishermen from France, Spain, Portugal, and other European countries followed them. They fished around the island of Newfoundland and even ventured into the rivers that ran through the vast expanse of land that lay just beyond the island. Many fishermen built huts on the island of Newfoundland and stayed all summer long. They built wooden platforms called flakes, where they salted and dried the fish so that their catch wouldn't spoil. Little fishing villages sprang up around Newfoundland's best harbor. Merchants came to Newfoundland to sell food, ropes, iron hooks and harpoons, clothes, shoes, and medicines to the fishermen. This fishing settlement, became known as St. John's. It was the first European colony in the country that we now call Canada. But the colony of St. John's wasn't exactly like the other colonies in North and South America. The fishermen who lived in St. John's only stayed in their colony during the spring and summer. When the breezes that blew across the island began to grow colder, St. John's settlers started packing their fish, their tools and clothes, and all of their fishing tackle into their ships for the journey home. No one tried to stay all winter on the island of Newfoundland. Icy winds would blow across St. John's, sucking the warmth from the little wooden huts. Fog would descend on the settlement so thick that one colonist couldn't see another across the street. Snow would cover the houses, the flakes, and the merchants' shops. The nights would grow longer and longer. Huge, unpredictable storms would sweep down from the north and cover the island, lashing at the harbors and shores. Cakes of ice would form in the waters surrounding Newfoundland. Ships still anchored off Newfoundland's shore would be frozen into the water. St. John's was a fantastic place to fish, but not to live. For many years, no one would stay on this northern island all year long. The first settlement in Canada would remain a warm weather colony.